Welcome to The Explainer. This is where we take really complex topics and, well, we make them simple. Okay, before we jump in, a quick but important heads up. This is part 4 of a 10-part series looking at a research report from Virtualization Options LLC. Just remember, what we talk about here is only a fraction of the full report, and it's definitely not legal, financial, or investment advice. And of course, there's no warranty. All right, let's get into it.
Let's start with a really interesting question. What if the people who know your company's secrets, your biggest critics, could also be your most powerful advocates? Because that idea, it's right at the heart of a huge shift in how your organization's AI initiatives are being judged from the outside.
So, here's what we're going to cover in the next few minutes. We're going to look at a new source of truth that investors are tapping into. We'll explore why your employees are suddenly the most important voice in the room. Then we'll open up the stakeholders playbook, look at the real financial cost when stories don't line up, and finally talk about how to build some authentic credibility.
All right, let's dive right in. There's this massive gap opening up. On one side, you have what companies say about their AI, and on the other, you have what smart investors and partners actually believe. We're talking about a major credibility gap. And for your organization, just understanding how deep it is, that's the first critical step.
Now check this out, because what you're seeing here is a total flip in who gets trusted. On the left, you've got all the official stuff, press releases, glossy website copy, conference presentations. The trust level from savvy stakeholders, it's low. But then look at the right. This is the employee reality. The anonymous reviews, the chatter in forums. The trust level here is high. This is what they now consider the ground truth.
So you've got to ask, why the big shift? I mean, why are the unfiltered thoughts of your team suddenly worth more to an investor than a polished presentation from the C-suite?
Well, it really boils down to a few things. First, it's completely unfiltered. There's no marketing spin. And because of anonymity on sites like Glassdoor and Blind, people can be brutally honest without risking their jobs. But it's not just one person's opinion. When you pull it all together, you start to see these systemic patterns emerge. And maybe most importantly, these are the folks on the front lines. They're the ones who actually know about the messy technical debt and all the process gaps that never make it into a press release.
Okay, so now let's get into the secret playbook. How are investors and potential partners actually digging up this info? And believe me, this goes way beyond just a quick peek at your company's Glassdoor page. The term for this is systematic review mining, and it's exactly what it sounds like. They're using some pretty sophisticated software and natural language processing to comb through thousands and thousands of employee reviews. They're hunting for trends in sentiment, they're flagging specific keywords related to AI, to governance, to ethics. Basically, they're looking for patterns that tell them what's really going on.
And this right here, this is a perfect example of the kind of pure gold they find. This is an anonymous post from Blind. And remember, you need a verified company email to even get on there. The person says the AI ethics committee is just a checkbox and that raising real concerns is a career killer. Wow. For an investor, that's a massive red flag. It screams governance theater, something you would never find in an official report.
And not all feedback is treated the same. Investors are on the hunt for very specific themes that signal high risk. As you can see here, certain things just set off all the alarms. Anytime employees mention ignored ethics, shoddy testing, or cutting corners on regulations, look at those concern levels. They're through the roof. That's the kind of thing that can completely sink a deal. Now, this isn't just about hurt feelings or a bad online review. For anyone in leadership, this is where it gets real. This gap between the story you're telling and the story your employees are telling, it has serious, tangible financial consequences. How serious? Well, stakeholders are ready to just walk away. The research shows that 42% of investment deals, that's nearly half, are either dropped completely or have to be totally reworked because this kind of analysis uncovers a huge credibility gap. And what about the deals that do go through? Well, there's a heavy price to pay. When employee chatter reveals that your official story on AI governance or ethics is just that, a story, companies are looking at an average hit to their valuation of 28%. That is a direct punch to the bottom line. And don't think for a second this is some fringe tactic. This is the new standard. Over 3/4 of sophisticated investors, 76% of them, now say that digging into employee reviews is either very important or critical to their due diligence on AI. It's just part of the process now. So you might be thinking this sounds pretty scary. How do you turn this from a huge liability into a genuine strategic advantage? Well, the answer isn't a better PR team.
It's about building a reality inside your company that's so solid, your own people become your most believable advocates. Because here's the flip side. Investors are actively searching for these positive signals too. When it's your own employees, unfiltered, saying that ethics reviews are taken seriously, that leadership actually gets the risks, that there's a healthy culture where people can speak up without fear, and that there are real investments in the right tools, that builds a kind of trust that no marketing budget can buy. So here's the bottom line. You can no longer fully control the narrative. The truth about your organization's AI practices is going to be heard one way or another. And that leaves every leader with one crucial question to think about. When investors listen to your employees, what story will they hear?